Hey everybody, back with another video, working on some Make Trax boards.
Alright, so this is my Make Trax board out of my, I recently picked up a Make Trax, and I'll probably do a video of it when I bring it, fix it up and everything. But I grabbed this board because somebody on KLOV was asking a question about the Make Trax special chip. So this is actually from, I have this in storage. But this 6P is a special chip on Make Trax, and then it got me to wanting to look at another board that I had picked up from, I think, Coin Op Warehouse or something. I don't know. I got this in an eBay auction. I don't even know where I got it from. But you can see there was a mod done, and this is probably a Crush Roller board. And so that was modified to do Ms.Pac Man, but I was going to troubleshoot it and stuff. So I made an adapter so I could troubleshoot this board, and then somebody on KLOV started asking questions about 6P, and started a thread on KLOV about documenting where all of the 6P lines go and stuff, because basically typically ground is here at pin number 12 and 5 volts is pin number 24, but because it's a special chip they actually have it reversed around. And so that's I wanted to document that and just figure out which lines were getting pulled up by resistors, which ones were getting pulled down, that kind of stuff. Let's see what, and then that got me to thinking about or looking at, there's not a lot of Make Trax videos out there about repairing the boards and stuff, but these are often almost like considered Pac-Man bootleg boards, and all of the Make Trax from Williams Electronics, as you can see there, are actually Crush Roller boards. You can see that it says Crush Roller here, screen printed, and there's also Crush Roller underneath of there. You can actually see a little bit of the white. But Williams Electronics just put a sticker on top of the Crush Roller board. The other difference is, I believe, and I'm going to find out in this video, that Crush Roller does not use a security chip or a special chip at 6P. So what I'm going to do in this video is repair this board, see if I can get it working, document the hack that was used to make it run whatever game it's running. Also, I'm going to burn Crush Roller ROMs and see if I can load that into this Make Trax without 6P running, and see if it will be a Crush Roller just by burning new ROMs. And what else am I going to do? The other thing I'm going to... These two lines on Make Trax that you see, these two jumper wires over here, typically these are either both white on later revisions of the board, or they're red and white or something like that. And what it is it basically takes one of the sinks, which is, I think, composite negative sync, runs it to this 1S chip. Actually, that capacitor is broken. Runs it to this 1S chip, and then inverts it and brings it back, so that in a Williams game where they typically use positive sync, so it just runs positive sync. But it is composite as far as I know, or it might be vertical only. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's composite. Yeah, it's got to be. We can actually measure that with the oscilloscope. But you'll notice on a Crush Roller board, as you can see here, this is Crush Roller, there is no chip at 1S. So I'm just going to document some of the differences between the Crush Roller, Make Trax, get this Crush Roller fixed, and go from there. Yeah, so that's it. My board is actually working, so I have a known good working state to go from. I'm also going to clean it. It's very dusty. And this has some type of sticky stuff on it too, so I'm going to try to clean that stuff up. Alright, so I have this board ready to go. The first thing I did is I documented the Crush Roller hacks that I thought was kind of interesting. So pin 5 from the Z80 goes to, which is address line 15, goes to 7N pin 13. Sorry, dang it. 7N pin 13, and that line is cut. And then let's see here, okay, the 8H 4, which is cut, which is actually part of the security circuit, for the Make Trax board, but HA4 is cut, and that goes to an open connection on the card edge, which leads me to believe that this might be an eyes hack or something like that, because that's probably being used for a button. I'm just guessing. I don't know, but why would something go to the card edge like that? So anyway, that's my first little theory right there. And then we got these are 2732s, 6H, pin 20 goes to 7N5, which is not cut. It goes to through the board. And this is two 2716 stacked. And you have the ground pin 24 going to 21, which is pulled out. I'd have to look up the schematic of a 2716. I'm not sure what that is, but it's basically grounding probably one of the enable pins or something like that. I'm not sure. And then you have pin 20, which is that's probably the enable, 6J20, which goes to 7N6 right here. And then these are basically, as they're doubled up, they're just basically soldered. Like the pin 1 is soldered to pin 1 of the EEPROM beneath it, pin 2 to pin 2, pin 3 to pin 3, except for these 3 chips. So it looks like a pretty simple modification, probably going to 7N for the enable, which is pin 20. I think that's either the right enable or the chip enable or something like that. And then I don't know why pin 21 is grounded, but that might be, I'd have to look at the schematic. Yeah, that's interesting. Pin 21 is VPP, which is the voltage programming to program a 2716, and that is basically grounded. It might need to be grounded to enable this, and I don't know what kind of chip is underneath of it. So it could be a 2732 sitting right underneath of this. 2732, 2732. I think all of these are 2732s. I have to double check this one and the one underneath that. But anyway, let's power it on. And we're not getting anything, but I heard the amp, and I already know what's kind of going on. First thing is check clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and it's high. And as I look through to the board, I see that I'm actually missing my crystal. So it could be an easy fix. I don't know. We're going to put a crystal in. It's an 18 regular Pac-Man style crystal, 18.134 or something megahertz or whatever. So let me solder in a crystal and then come back. All right, I haven't powered it on yet. So put the clock right there. No idea if it's going to work. Got something. It's Miss Pac-Man, huh? So I guess I don't know what that thing is for. I wonder if that's composite, a different sync or something. Why? I don't understand that. Interesting. Maybe it's a switch. Maybe it's to switch a game or something. Interesting. Let me try that. But it's definitely Miss Pac-Man. Looks good. Looks like it works. Yep. All I needed was a clock. That's pretty cool. Hard for me to practice, or play that way. Interesting. So this is a Ms.Pac hack. Okay, I've been doing some research. Let me see. And looking at this is a Ms.Pac Crush Roller conversion, right? Or bootleg or mod or whatever you want to call it. I could not figure out what this is doing. Going to 8H. I put it on the scope and it's just floating. Actually, let me do it real quick. It's just kind of like getting pulled somewhat high, but not really too much. And if I ground it, it does nothing. So it's about a volt, right? 1.5 volts on it. So it's not crossing like 2 volts. You guys can see that right there. And if I ground it, it doesn't do anything. If I bring it high, it doesn't do anything. There's no idea why they would run that jumper like that. So maybe somebody on the video would tell me. I would think like maybe it's to the service switch or something else, but I'd have to look at this. I can't even figure it out. This 8H actually goes to the security chip somewhere. So I have no idea. Wacky. What else was I going to talk about? So I got the clock in there. Oh, okay. So I believe there's 4 proms on here. The 1M and 3M are like your audio for sound and stuff. You know, has something to do with the sound. And then 7F and 4A are your video and color proms. And so I dumped these, and I was getting some different results, like compared to a Make Trax. Let's see, I had 4A, which is right here. Make Trax has a checksum of 06D, and both this board at 4A had what the Pac signatures were, like a regular Pac-Man board, 024D. And then 7F, a normal Pac-Man would be 73C, or Miss Pac-Man would be the same, 73C. But this board at 73, which is an 82S123, was E78 for both my Make Trax and this. So it's almost like, and I have it right here, this is the one that came on the board. So it's almost like whoever did the mod swapped out, did not swap out 7F, but did swap out 4A. And then MAME has it somewhat jacked up too. Like, I don't think they have this associated with the right folders and stuff. I don't know. It's definitely got me puzzled. But what I did is I pulled my Pac-Man proms, 4A and 7F, and I figured we'd try to see if there's a difference. Now, this looks like it's pretty pink. It's not going to look like this over the camera, probably. But I'm wondering if it's more red. It might be brighter red with the changes here. And this Miss Pac-Man right there looks a little bit orange. Right there. Almost, basically the same color as Sue. Miss Pac-Man looks basically the same color as Sue. Otherwise, I can't really tell the difference. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my Make Trax proms from my Make Trax board right there. And then we'll see what it looks like. Alright, let's try this again. Okay, so I have my Make Trax in at 4A, and I had gotten them confused and swapped around. So I have Make Trax 4A right there, and 7F in, and that's our colors. So that definitely looks jacked up. Right, that is Make Trax colors running Miss Pac-Man. Yellow here, that's red, white, that's not even barely pink, 2 blue, a little bit darker, and definitely yellow. Okay, so what we want to do is get it, let's see, so 4A is just swap out 4A. Just swap out 4A. Alright, 4A swapped out. This should be just like it came to me. So it's got a Ms.Pac at 4A, which is definitely seems like it's required, and a Make Trax or Crush Roller at 7F. A little bit orange right there. Less pink, I think, overall. It's definitely less pink. It's not as pink as if we had Miss Pac-Man in 7F. Yeah, I think this is definitely darker. The orange is a little bit darker. The colors are a little bit different. So I guess you could put, yeah, and the pink is definitely, it's more pink. So I have the Miss Pac-Man back in at 7F. And I don't know if that looks like, if that's a normal Miss Pac-Man look or not, but it looks pretty damn pink.
Had to turn on my Ms.Pac real quick. The maze is definitely like more tannish on my monitor. Less, I don't know what it looks like in the. It's tan with like kind of a red outline. So in both cases, it's a lot more pink. Maybe that's my PVM monitor or something, but the reds are a lot more. This is the has the high score save kit on it, so. See if it'll go into attract mode. Yeah, it's a little bit orange, red. I mean, most of it looks right, except for that maze was just really pink. That's a little bit lighter pink. Inky is, you know, light blue, tealish almost. Interesting. And then yellow. Yeah, definitely real pink in there. But anyways, the next thing I'm going to do is, done screwing around with that board. I will probably burn some Crush Roller ROMs to see if I can use a Make Trax without that 6P special chip. Alright, so I'm done messing with that other board. I'm powering up this Make Trax. I'm going to burn some Crush Roller ROMs, but also I'm going to test the Make Trax without 6P just to see what the behavior is. And then also just watch this real quick just to see the intro screen. I don't know if I filmed this. Alright, so it says Far Out Players, KRL, Game Over, Make Trax, 1981, Williams Electronics Incorporated. And I think that might be the only difference. I'm not sure. Colors don't, come across on the viewfinder totally different than what I see in person. This is yellow, blue, green. And that Make Trax is red. Your screen there is white. The maze is white, being colored green. Fish is yellow and light blue. Light blue, dark blue, yellow. Yeah, so anyway, alright, so let me take out the security chip and see what the behavior is. Alright, security chip's out. Looks like it's going through a tract. It's booting up. And then it resets probably. Or it gets frozen or something. So this is what happens if there's no security chip in it. It just looks like it'll just be frozen on this. Now I can check the reset pin real quick. Power on my scope. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Interesting. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that toggling? 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Huh. That's my reset pin. It's not resetting though. Nope, just high. I don't know. Just frozen, I guess. Sorry for the camera work there. It's kind of weird because it tries to boot up. Oh, that was weird. Yeah. Definitely see something happen there, and then this little flashing thing down here at the bottom. So that's what happens without the security chip. So let me burn some Crush Roller ROMs. Alright, I have Crush Roller ROMs in here. 5E and 5F, which I think are your graphic ROMs, are the same for Pac-Man boards, Make Trax, I think Eyes, all of them. You don't need to change those two out, so it's the same. But for this version, this is Crush and MAME. I don't know which version that is, but it's 6E, 6F, 6H, 6J. All burn those. Now, I did have 7F is different compared what was on my board versus what it says it's in MAME for both Make Trax and Crush Roller. So I think MAME is wrong. The MAME files are wrong on here. But this is the only thing that's slightly different. No security chip. Let's
turn it on.
It's booting. Nope. Doesn't work. Doesn't like it. Wacky. Why is that? Interesting.
Hopefully I didn't do anything wrong here. Let's see here. Everything's in there. I put the security chip in.
With Crush Roller ROMs. And it works. And it says, that's weird. It does say Crush Roller, Curl Samno Electronics. I don't know what it's supposed to say there, but that's the version of ROMs that I burnt anyway. And it would not boot without the security chip. That's interesting. I thought Crush Roller would work without the security chip. Otherwise, it looks pretty similar. Obviously, Far Out Players, KRL, Curl Samno Electronics. I'll have to do some more research on this. Interesting. Alright, so hopefully you guys can see this okay. I've been messing with the MAME debugger and just looking at the MAME driver for pacman.cpp, which also includes the make tracks and eyes and stuff like that and Crush Roller drivers. But if you come to the end of the MAME driver, basically you have the driver details, and it's like, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's like the year that it was created, and then the game driver name itself, the short name, and then it's basically parent and what is it? Let me see. Parent and let's see. The second argument is the short name of the system driver. Third and fourth is parent clone. So this is the parent and this is the clone. So the parent is Crush and the clone is Crush 2. And I'm looking, at Crush and Crush 2. And then you have that's the third and fourth. Fifth argument is machine configuration function. So that machine configuration function is make tracks, and then you have like the input ports, which is Pac-Man, so probably identifying the 4-way joystick and stuff. And then you have, let's see, sixth and then seventh is the driver state class. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So what I was looking for is the difference between the Crush Roller ROMs and the Crush 2, and obviously the parent and clone are different. It does say make tracks here, and then but it says empty init or init make tracks. So if I search on init make tracks. It comes to this driver initialization, and it's kind of, for some reason this computer is not letting me click around. So but basically it looks like it might have something to do with the make tracks protection being turned on. And so I'm wondering if Crush 2 does not initialize this make tracks in MAME, and therefore is not using the built-in security protection. So that brought me to Crush 2. Yeah, and it says Crush 2 Pac-Man config. I don't know what that means, but basically I'm hoping that this is not doing the protection stuff, because Crush 2 has a different config that looks like it's Pac-Man. And if I look at the ROMs, which you can see here, they're basically more than the 4 ROMs. They're like 2716. So whatever board this Crush 2 was loaded on, it used 2716 ROMs instead of 2732s. So what we have to do is, in our main folder, we have to concatenate these files together. And MAME puts them in the order, so like 0 hex to 800 hex, 800 hex to 1000 hex. So I need to combine TP1 to TP5, TP2 to TP6, so I can try to load these on my board. And the way you do that is really just as simple as this. Hopefully, let me move this down. I already did it. I just basically went into my folder and started copying, you know, copy /B for binary, file name 1 plus file name 2, and then the file that you want to call it. And I did that for all of them. For the graphics ROMs are the same, so I don't have to worry about that. I verified that actually by loading. Let's see, did I do that? Yeah, let me do it real quick. Show you guys. I'm going to go to ROM ident, and I think you can see this. And if I load 5E, which is in my Crush 2 folder now, and I hit submit, those ROMs I concatenated together obviously match the other ROMs for Crush Roller graphics ROM. So anyway, I know I was doing it right, and what this does is it gives me, if I look in my directory, it gives me in my directory now I have all the, you know, the TP1, TP2, TP3, TP4, but I combine TP1 with TP5A to make 5E, which is what you see right here. So I'm going to burn these ROMs. That was my short version of, or trying to be short, of looking at the MAME driver, trying to figure out which ones of these Crush Roller ROMs might not use protection. It looks like Crush 2 does not use protection, but I'm not positive about that. And I could probably like load it up in MAME, debug, and try to figure it out. I'm just still learning that stuff. So I'm just going to burn some ROMs and put it in and see if it works. All right, hopefully you can see this. I'm just burning with my BK864, and I got a verify at minimum voltage error. But I also just wanted to show that this chip here is, see if we can focus. Come on now. There we go. Oh, upside down. Is a 27C32BQ. Now, this is uses a programming voltage of 12.75 volts. And it is a CMOS chip instead of an NMOS chip. So it programs pretty quick. And now, if I just hit program here again, you see where it says VCC verify at plus or minus 10%. I can choose to do this at plus or minus 5%. So I got an error when verifying at minus 10%, which would be 4.5 volts. The chip obviously is not, you know, as good, but it should work at minus 5 volts. So look how fast it programs. Bam. And it passed okay this time. So you can see here my success, whereas before I did not have that success at the minimum voltage. It's not a big deal. You're usually going to be running 5 volts on these chips, but if voltage is questionable, this chip will actually give you the wrong data. And that's what the programmer did. I'd shown that before where it says verifying error, device reads BE, but my buffer was 3A. So when the voltage is low to the chip, it wasn't able to read it correctly. Regardless, the only thing I wanted to show is just how fast this is, and also the fact that you don't necessarily need a programmer that can do 25 volt chips. 2732s are usually 25 volts, but you can find these 12.75 volts and use, you know, a GQ or what the heck, the TL866. That's all. Just wanted to show that real quick. It is nice to have the BK. So I have my new chips in there. Crush Roller B with the, or Crush 2 are the ROMs, but I concatenated them together. Did not need to do 5E, 5F. Those are the same. Took out the security chip. Let's see what we get. It's just resetting. Is it? I don't know. It's working. Alright. So that's cool. Let me underscan that. So Crush Roller 2 ROMs obviously do not require the security chip. So if you wanted to, I mean, I don't know what to do at that point. It's kind of interesting, I guess. Let's just film this real quick. Game over, high score. Yeah, I bet it's the same. So whatever the difference is in Crush 2 between my regular Crush ROMs, you know, it doesn't, some need security protection or the security chip and some don't. Okay, so I have my Fluke set up and the Make Trax board is back on with the Make Trax ROMs and the security chip, and I have it running unit under test, which you can see is working. Okay, but before I dive into that too much, I did want to call out something. There is a difference between Crush ROMs, if you can see that right there, which we tested that needed the security chip, and the Crush 2 ones that did not need the security chip. And I didn't catch this, but in the attract screen, the one that needed the first Crush that we tested said Curel Samno Electric, and the second one was Curel Esco Electric. So I don't know what the meaning of that is, why that's different. If that's, maybe it was originally Curel Electric, and then Samno was the person who modified that ROM, and Esco was the guy that modified that. I have no idea. That's kind of interesting, I guess. But I just wanted to mention that those two did have something different in the attract screen, and it actually shows it in the main driver as well. All right, so what we're actually going to do is turn on our scope, and I'm just documenting. I was probing around on this thing, trying to figure out what was going on with 6K, which is, I think the address lines that come into 6K come from 8K. I'm going to bring up the schematic here. So here's the special chip. I'm not even sure if I showed this earlier. And basically, there's an addressable latch, 8K, and I totally don't know what's going on, but somebody on KLOV, Mark Spaeth, is probably going to help out, and he'll be able to figure this out probably better than I can. But I'm just documenting what I'm doing. The RAM address bus is nothing more than just a buffered address bus. The RAM is on that address bus, as well as the this 8K. And so address bus line 0, 1, and 2 all come into A, B, and C of 8K, which is a LS259. The clear is obviously tied high, so that's always it's never going to be low. And the state of this, how this 8K is behaving, is two options. One is like a memory, and one's as an addressable latch. So it's like one is like it's storing data, I guess, and one's is addressing a certain latch, I guess, over here. I'm not exactly sure how that works. LS259. We'll look it up in the book. But basically, this is always high, clear, so G is the only thing changing the mode of this chip. And then there's obviously 8 outputs, but the only ones we care about is Q4, Q5, Q6, and Q7, which are pins 9, 10, 11, and 12, which come into 6P, which is the special chip. And then it looks like it has, obviously outputs here, one going to LS367s, which are nothing but buffers or drivers, right? So that's really all that's doing. One of the interesting things is you can see that the output of one of these LS367s from 6P comes back around and feeds the data input of 8K. So it's probably some type of counter. I don't know, because I don't know enough about this, but it just kind of makes sense. Like it's doing something, feeding data, then it comes back in, and that changes the variable that's in the data that then gets read back out or something. Let's see if there's anything else interesting about that. Here's a decoder chip. What actually turns this chip on or off? 6P. I don't see anything that turns it on or off. I think it's just always enabled somehow. Like I said, on pin 18 and 20 of 6P, I think are grounded, so those could be the enables, because I don't see anything unless one of these is the enables. Interesting. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to come to 8K and check the behavior of these with the scope real quick. Okay, I'm going to try to do this with the it's a little bit of an awkward angle, but so 8K pin 9, which is it should be Q4. No, what is that? Yeah, Q4. 8K pin 9. And we're just going to power it. It's high right now, so we're going to power it off, the game off, and then power it on. You see it goes low, and then as soon as the game starts running, which hopefully you can see like that, it stays high. That's all that does. Q4. And then Q5 and Q6 are not toggling at all. They're just stuck low. So Q4 is stuck high after the game is running code. Then Q5 is low. Q6. Q7. No, that's Q6. Q7. Now the game just reset because I'm running it through the Fluke, and sometimes it's a little messed up, and you can see Q7 is toggling as the game is running. There's the game running, and it's basically toggling. Alright, and if we come to S1, let me adjust that a little bit. There's S1. It's got a ton of data on it while the game is running. A lot of activity. S2, S3, and let's see. Pin 13 is the data. So this should be 8. This should be 16. 16 is high. 15 is high. 14 is our G enable. That's our G right there. You can barely see it. It's definitely toggling and stuff. I know it's kind of difficult to see, but it's going down. I have my intensity even driven all the way up. But yeah, it's definitely toggling. That's the enable pin, G. And that's 14, and then 13. That's the data coming in. Running. Oh, just reset. Well, you get the idea. Yeah, it resets because of I don't know. It's the Fluke and the it might not be the reproduction pod, but it's probably the cable or something. It's not perfect for running unit under test. Let me see if was there anything else I wanted to check. I don't think so. I think that was it. Just wanted to show what 8K is doing during runtime. I did try experimenting with like reading and writing to different memories, but it wasn't really helping me identify anything further. So, I mean, and I looked at the outputs of this chip as well. Some of them are high, some of them are toggling. I mean, without actually being able to read the data off of it, which I don't understand how to do, so I don't know. I'm kind of stuck. All right, let's see how I can weave this back in. I have the board on the Fluke still. I did wrap my cable from my pod to the PCB, whatever, unit under test cable, wrapped it in copper and grounded it, and that actually seems to work a lot better as far as keeping the game up and running. It's not resetting, so there's obviously some interference, and using these flat ribbon cables, I've done other videos on this, is not ideal. They have other cables that have you know, interwoven ground lines with the data lines and address lines and stuff like that, which works better, but this seems to be working somewhat better. So if you're in a pinch, obviously not resetting. But then I was looking at somebody else's video on YouTube, and he did a video, I think it's called Simply Put is the name of the guy's channel. I'll link to the video. He did a video on a 4099, which is like probably the CMOS version of the 74LS259. It's a latch, and I'll link to the video. But it made me kind of understand what's going on here a little bit, because I didn't understand what really a latch even did before looking at this. So there's 3 address lines coming in: RA0, RA1, RA2, and those 3 address lines, right? If you look at address lines and binary to hex or whatever you want to do, or decimal conversion, you have like address line 0, right? Address line 1, address line 2, address line 3, and so on until you get to address line 15. And obviously that's 16 bits, right? There's, you know, if you count them up, it's, you know, 1 bit, 2 bits, 3 bits, etc. So you have, and this is A0, A1, A2. It's RAM address 0, RAM address 1, but it's really just buffered. It could be BA0, buffered address 0, buffered address 1, coming from the CPU. So you have basically 2 to the power of 3, which is 8 combinations that you can drive with those 3 bits, and these are the 8 outputs of the addressable latch, right? So if you have, let's put some numbers up here. So this is 1, 2, 4, and you have the address line, which is this is on KLOV, and I'll link to that thread. But we know that this is being Q4, Q5, Q6, and Q7 are being addressed by the address 5004, 5, 6, and 7. 5005, 5006, 5007, and I think 5000 is address line 14. The bit is set. Address line 13 is 0. 12 is 1, and then the rest of them are 0. And then we get down to address line 0, 1, and 2. And so for 5004, obviously it'd be 1, 0, 0. That would be 5004. With address line 14 being set and address line 12, and then the rest 0 until you get to address line 2. And then if we wanted 5005, it would be 1, 0, 1. So 4 plus 1, that's 5. And then for 6, it would be 1, 1, 0. And for 7, it would be 1, 1, 1. And I'll be right back. Alright, so anyway, I was interrupted. So that's how you're getting, like, obviously the 5000 address line, I believe it's 14 and 12. I'd have to look at it on a calculator, did I? Oh yeah, I did look at it on a calculator. So if you look at it, use a program calculator with Windows, you can see if the binary for hexadecimal 5007, the first 3 bits are all 1 for 5007, and then address line 14 and 12 are also set. And then if you come down here and you look at the enable pin for this latch, it is driven by this decoder chip, which is fed via address line A6, A7,
the read-write line as well as address line 12. This actually is getting enabled via address line 12, and then plus this read-write. So I haven't looked at the decoder, but obviously this combination is probably flipping this on so we can actually write to 5004 as an example. At least that's my understanding. Anyway, that 8K, so what we need to do is on the Fluke is actually set these Q4, Q5, Q6, Q7, these latches. We're not worried about 00, 01, 02, 03. They have nothing to do with the special chip. But we're going to write a value to actually flip these on or off. It's almost like the way I'm kind of understanding is, think of it as like a dip switch that you're able to set the dip switch on or off based off of obviously programming code, right, and the CPU, so you can control this dip switch. And then, you know, so you're writing code to it to say, okay, I want the dip switch to be Q4 to be on or off, and then, you know, or I want, you know, Q0 to be on or something like that, as an example. So we're going to write on, and there's only one data line, which is this right here, pin 13, and that is fed via RD0. So there's 8 data bits. So you have, you know, D0, D1, D2, all the way to D8, and it's only being fed from data bit 0, so it can only be a 1 or a 0. And so we want to, like, while we're writing to 5007, we want to make sure that data 0 is a 1, so we can write in hex a 01 or a 00 or any other value like FF. Data bit 0 would also be a 1, as an example, because that would be all ones. But we're just going to stick with 00 and 01. And see, is my make track still running? Yeah, see, it hasn't even reset yet. So what we're going to do, and I have my oscilloscope on, pulling about 2 amps between my monitor, the board, and the Fluke and the oscilloscope. But we're going to stop the run unit to test. Let's do a bus test. Let's do a write 5004, enter, and we're going to write 00, and we're going to do that for write 5005, enter, 00, enter, write 5006, enter, 00, write 5007. Now I could have probably did a program that did all that at once, but whatever. It takes 2 seconds. Okay, now let's come to our 8K, and pin 9 is Q4, and it's low. And then pin 10 is low, 11 is low, and 12. 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are all low. And so what we're going to do is, as we saw in runtime, when the PCB's in runtime, basically what it does is it sets 5004 to be enabled. So this is always high during runtime. So that must be changing 6P. If this bit is set, it's probably enabling something. It's doing something on 6P because it's set the entire time. Right when you boot it up, Q4 is set, 5004 is set high, and it stays high. And then Q7 is toggling all the time. So we're going to reproduce that by writing, and 5005 and 5006 are low the whole time. So we're going to write 5004, enter, we're going to write 01, and then we're going to toggle data bit at 5007, enter, 01, that's the data we're going to write to it, and we're going to toggle bit 0, which is data bit 0.
And then we're going to loop that. And what that's going to do is now, if I come to pin 9, we're set to high. That's Q4 on 8K. And I'm still low on my Q5 and Q6 and Q7. I think should be toggling. But maybe I'm not showing it. Let's see. There we go. There, it's toggling. Let me see if I can adjust that just a little bit. So this is Q7 or pin 12 of 8K. Like that. And that's basically simulating kind of what the runtime situation is. Now, obviously, the timing, we're just toggling this bit up and down, and really, it's happening. It's writing the 5007 at certain times based off of the program code. It's setting this bit to 1 or off and on, off and on, off and on. And what is that doing to these outputs here, pin 1 and 2? So now we can come to our 6P special and start looking at what's pin 1 look like. And it's toggling slowly. This is output of 6P. Pin 2, toggling. And actually what's probably more important is if we just look at the outputs of 6P real quick under normal runtime. So I just kind of wanted to show, I did some learning, obviously. Show like this addressable latch and the fact that this is kind of just almost like a dip switch that is getting set basically high, low, low, and then high, low is toggling. Q7 is toggling. That's what it's doing during normal runtime. And then what's coming out of this obviously is going into these buffers here and then gets onto the RAM data bus, which I assume is being read at some point in time. Not sure. It's weird. So let's hit stop right there. Run unit under test. System's booting. Alright, and we're going to just look at all the outputs of 6P real quick. That's pin 1. Pretty much staying low. It might move eventually. There it goes. It just moved. But not very fast or frequently at all. Game is still running. Eventually I think it'll come back down low. There it went. That's pin 1. This is pin 2 of 6P. Kind of very similar behavior. It's staying low for the most part. And there it went high, but very infrequently. Then pin 3 is another output. Right now it's high. We're on the attract screen. And then it went low. And pin 4 is another output. And I'm sure it's very similar. It's, staying low. Now it's pulled somewhat high. It's almost like almost a volt on it, but it's not obviously high enough to cross a threshold of digital logic. But it is not at 0. That's pin 4. It's pretty much just hanging out at low. And then 4, we go to 5, 6, 7. Now 7's not even connected to anything, I don't think, and it's, toggling. 8 is toggling, and that is an input. Oh yeah, 6 was an input as well. What's 9? Is 9 disconnected? 9 is disconnected. I don't think it's doing anything. 10 is an output. And again, it's kind of high and then low. Not doing a lot. 11. That's pin 11. Right there. And then pin 12 is actually high, which is unique to the special chip. Then 13 is an output. Oh, game just reset for the first time. Sometimes it does that on the Fluke. Again, it's probably because of that cable. That's 13. That's an output. Not a lot of activity. 14. 14's an output. Not a lot going on there. And let's go to 23. That's an output. It's pin 23. I don't think pin 22 is connected. 21, 20. Now pin 20 is the busiest of them all. As you can see, let me just adjust this real quick. That's the busiest output on 6P. And that goes to 8H. And that's all the outputs. I mean, it's not like there's a lot of activity, but pin 20 is definitely the busiest during runtime. And the input, pin 8, is obviously pretty busy. But, you know, that's based off of the code, and the code writing to 5007 and doing something. So, anyway, I think I shared what I wanted to share there. And let me weave this into the video somewhere. Alright, just unpack this other Make Trax board that I got from Umms on KLOV. It says Williams Electronics Make Trax right there, so that's over the Crush Roller board. It does have a Williams sticker right there, and my original one does look like there was a Williams sticker there as well. So basically original. This one is probably a little bit older. Obviously it's cleaner, because the older ones, I think, according to what I've read, had the red and yellow wires for the inverted sync running to 1S, and the later revisions had just white wires like that. Now, one thing I'll also mention is these Williams boards, it looks like there was an issue with the PCB print, or this version of the PCB, because they have a slight cut, if you can see that right there, cut a trace there, and then they put a jumper there. And on this board, it is not there. You can see they actually properly have that trace running where it's supposed to be. It's almost like they had it accidentally connecting to this trace. Let me see. Basically, on the Make Trax Williams boards, this came down and connected to here, so you had to cut that and then put a jumper from here, from right there, if you can see that, and then they jumpered it over there. That's what it's doing. See how they kind of got the trace cut. Anyway, that's just a foobar. And I also noticed this might be another foobar. It looks like they have an additional capacitor over here by the sound section. I don't know if this is the 12 volt line or what that is, but that is not on this board here, which would come from C23 over to ground, as far as I can tell. So that's the only difference that I can see. Alright, I got it hooked up, but we'll see if this board works. Ed was not able to test it. That's why he was selling it for a decent deal. So we'll see if we get lucky and this board actually works. And it does not look like it does. Just frozen on the screen. So that's interesting. Not working. Maybe it's resetting. So we actually have a board to troubleshoot. Be right back. Well, I didn't film it, but I checked the clock and the reset pin on the Z80. It was not resetting. Had good clock, 3 megahertz. And then I just looked at the dip switches, and I haven't even studied what the dip switches do, but I know 8 was up. And then I just looked at my known working board here and set the dip switches based off of a known working board, and it's working. So pin 8 probably is what the issue is. Let me just try it real quick before I look at the schematics.
Let me change pin 8 to on.
Yep. Pin 8 was on. That was it. That was the only issue. Probably freezes the game or something. If I just take it off. But even without power cycling. Just resets. Probably freezes the game. It's probably a freeze. I'm not sure. I have to go double check here. I'm going to hit pit. Yep. Diff switch 8. Freezes it. And then it unfreezes it. It's like a pause or something. I'll double check that on the schematic. But working board, thanks Ed. I got 2 working boards. I'm going to dump the 7F. Actually, I don't know if the sound works. Let me see. Ooh, getting some weird colors going on. I don't hear anything. So no audio. Doesn't seem like no audio, and my colors just went wacky. Let's see. So I'm missing some audio, it seems like. Try to coin up. Seemed like it wanted to do something. I know my camera's moving all the way around. Huh. Interesting. So it might have some type of audio amplifier issue or something like that. I'll have to troubleshoot the audio. But it does look like the game's running fine. But no audio. Well, I keep thinking I'm going to have to dive in and do some complicated troubleshooting here, but let's go ahead and coin up. Got a couple coins there. Going to press start. Alright. No sound, right? And then I just came here and I was probing actually to see what the voltage was, I think on pin 2. Let's see if I can do this. Alright, hold on, let me check. Am I on 10 times? I thought it was pin 2. There we go. Something's going on here. If I just wiggle this around, I'm getting some sound, I think, or... Interesting. Look what happens when I wiggle it. I'm changing the color output as well. I'm pretty sure that's the amplifier there at Q5. Something's going on there. When I wiggle it back and forth, just... That's strange. Alright, I'm going to look at what Q5 is, verify that's the audio amp. I'm not getting 12 volts on pin 2. Which is obviously not ideal. But I think I'm supposed to be. Alright, let me check. Alright, so the schematic seems wrong. It has 1 as being the output to the audio and pin 2 being the 12 volt
coming in, and I downloaded the schematic, an LA4422. Pin 1 is 12 volts, pin 2 is your input, and pin 10 is your output. And then obviously there's some other stuff going on here, but anyway, hooked up my other board. We'll plug it in. Where's my... There we go. Alright, so it's working. Come to pin 1, and we have 12 volts. Come to pin 2. Basically not much of anything, but let's go ahead and start a game. See what pin 2 does. Not much. Alright, I'm just kind of playing around a little bit, but this is my working board. You see it powered up there. Don't even know where I was at. I was just kind of messing around. We're definitely getting 12 volts, as I mentioned, on pin 1. As you can see there, 12 volts. But what's interesting is the DAC, the digital analog converter, this 4066, is all the way up here at 1N. But if you hook up a logic probe, let me see if I can coin up. Press start. Alright. Let me turn that down a little bit. And then you hook up the logic probe. With the audio output, you can hear it. Kind of like playing that dee 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 stuff. So I just want to show that real quick. We're going to check this one. It might be just cold solder joints, I don't know, but I just figured I'd do some experimenting with the working board, and then we'll come back and look at the non-working. All right, got the other board plugged in, and it's working. I think it might have been just the edge connector. Maybe it wasn't making good contact. I don't know. Let's see. We have, well, obviously the sound's working, so we must have 12 volts. And we do. I don't know. I plugged it in. Maybe the edge connector wasn't working right. So, or it's not clean. Maybe I need to clean the edge connector. So anyway, anticlimactic again. Thought I was going to have to troubleshoot something. And I'm wiggling this, and I'm not seeing any changes. I don't know what it was doing there. Maybe the board is flexing or something. The board is slightly bowed, but I don't see it making any impact. Wacky. I don't know. Don't get it. Let me unhook the edge connector real quick. See what that looks like. I'm going to clean it up with an eraser. See if I can make it better. Might have been just a dirty edge connector. So I use the eraser method usually, but this one had some stuff on it. And I don't know if you guys watched the Moon Patrol video I did that had crap on the edge connector that was preventing it from getting some sync. So I just used very gently some 2000 grit sandpaper. Now obviously you don't want to go too hard, but I mean, I think this is way better than the eraser. It came out way better, getting some of this oxidation off and stuff. Yeah. Much better. Anyway, I did the whole thing. It looks a lot better. and you don't have to do much, obviously. I tried a couple different methods. I'd be interested for feedback what other people do. I think the eraser sucks, honestly. I think you need something for some of these boards that have been sitting on a shelf for a long time. You probably need something a little bit more aggressive than the eraser, but you don't want to obviously do too much to keep the copper off. You want to keep the copper on there and stuff. So anyway, if you don't like it, let me know. This is the first time I ever tried it. I did 2000 grit sandpaper. Let's plug it in and see if it works. It looks like this board was fully working. Just needed to be cleaned up and change the dip switch. Power it up. Coin. Yep, it's working fine. Alright, so let me, I think that's it for this video, guys. Messing around with Make Trax. Mark Spaeth is doing some work on this custom chip. I'll link to the KLOV thread about that. And I'm just going to dump these proms just to make sure they match up and everything. But I'm not going to film that. So that's it for this video. Screwing around with some Make Trax. Got 2 working ones plus a... I still need to clean this one, but and also a Ms.Pac, man. So might do another video on Make Trax down the road, but that's it for these PCBs.